Well, hello there. So today we're going to have some fun with Minecraft Java, setting up a server. So a few things, and I'm going to try and make this as basic as possible, linking to a lot of different things, because I know there's probably going to be a lot of interest in a video like this. But I'm not going to cover everything. So for example, we are going to be using Amazon Web Services to set this up. So I'm going to be covering some things with Amazon Web Services, but in this video, I will not be covering how to set up your initial account with Amazon Web Services. So you just come to AWS, Amazon.com, and you can create an account and sign into the console. Now, that's one way. I'm actually going to be using Amazon Academy for this. So Amazon Academy, AWS Academy, is a place where educational institutions, students, higher educational institutions can use most of Amazon Web Services for free. I think it's most, but a large amount of Amazon Web Services for free. Up to $100 for each class that they're in. And there's just this really great, and I've used it quite a bit in a lot of my classes. So I'm not going to go ahead and log into my personal or any of my business consoles, but I am going to pull up my console from Amazon Web Services Academy. Okay, so if you are, by the way, we can see it's here because it's in Volk Labs user. If you are tied to a university and you're a student or a professor, you find out who is your rep with AWS Academy, get signed up, help students learn this. This is really good. We need more people that understand Amazon Web Services. Okay, so I've also been asked to do this in Ubuntu, so that's what I'm planning on doing. There's a few things I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do in AWS Academy. So working in AWS Academy is like doing it with a business that has certain rules already applied and restrictions. So there's some restrictions I won't be able, I might not be able to do, but I think for the most part, we're going to do everything. Okay. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to launch an instance. So this is AWS EC2. By the way, there's a lot of different ways to get this, and I should have showed you that first. I was just clicking EC2. You can type in there. It stands for Elastic Compute. Anyway, you can go to it there. You can also click here's recent, but you can go to you can find it over here on the side, compute, or you can come back. There's just lots of ways to navigate to this. So all the ways are fine. And for that matter, there's even a command line interface that you can use to create these. You don't even have to log in. That's beyond the scope of what we're going to do in this video, though. So EC2, and we're going to launch an instance that we can use. Okay. So and once again, there's quite a few places where I can launch an instance. So I'm going to click right here to launch the instance. I was going to click on the instance running and launch it, but right here. They're constantly changing this UI. The command line interface, they're not changing as much, but this one they are. So I'm just going to call this Minecraft MC Java 2022. And then I need to choose an image, and we're going to choose Ubuntu for this one. And then with it, and it's free tier eligible. For Minecraft Java, 1 CPU and 1 gig of memory is not going to be sufficient, unfortunately. I've set them up on that small before. It's really hard. You have to tune it, and it's just kind of a pain. So we're going to go to T3 small, which has 2 CPUs and 2 gigs of memory. That should be enough to run a Minecraft Java server for a decent number of people. There's going to be some things that we'll set up in the video that we'll try and introduce you to be able to watch. So if you need to increase that, and then what you do is you take an image of this, shut it down, well, I'll take an image of it, shut it down, and just put the image on a new on a bigger one. But so the thing is, there's this key pair, and I'm going to help you understand how to create a key pair. So this is a command line. I'm in Linux, but you can do these same commands in Windows. So go to a Windows command line, and you'd go to the first thing you need to do is create an SSH key. SSH dash keygen, okay, and hit enter, and it's going to say, hey, I'm going to create this key. Now I've already created this, so I'm going to change it. You don't want to change it because it's going to put it in the default area, given it the default permissions, and that's going to save you a lot of headache. And I'll show you, because I'll have that headache later. But I'm gonna put this in home jstrain.ssh junk, because in fact junk underscore del underscore me, because I'm not going to be using this underscore RSA. We're going to leave this blank. This is if you want to put a password on it. That is wise. In some instances, we're not going to do it this time. And hit enter again, and we're good. So now if I do an ls-ltrah, this is Linux. In Windows, it would be dir on whatever this is. So this is going to be different in Windows slightly. Home jstrain.ssh, and I'm going to do junk star. So you can see here we have two files that were created. The RSA, which is the private key, and there's this one that's .pub, which is the public key. This is the key to get in. This is the lock that you install on the server. Okay, I'm not going to be using this one. I'm actually going to be using a class one that I have. So class star. I'm going to use this class RSA and class pub, which I've already uploaded. I gave it a different name, probably not wise, but that's okay. So key pair, I've already uploaded it. If you haven't uploaded it, we're going to open this in a new window and show you what you would how to upload it. Okay, like I said, I want this to be step by step as possible, so you don't have to view many other videos or resources. But I will link to other pages. Okay, so under EC2 dashboard, if you come down below, you're going to find under network and security key pairs. Okay, key pairs is where you upload your key. In fact, I'll upload my junk key. So did this key. These are IT classes I teach at a university. So I'm going to actions, import key pair, and junk. Gonna browse for it, and I'm actually think I'm gonna have a hard time finding this because it's hidden. Yeah. So I would have to change some settings to be able to see this, but I'd have to go into the folder, which is under jstring.ssh. I'm not going to be able to see that because I don't have the right settings, but that's fine. And then I would select it. In fact, here's the class pub that I moved up so I could. I would select this, and then when all said and done, I'd import the key pair. I'm not going to import this one. Okay, so I'm going to close that window. But once you import it, you have it named, you can select it. So I'm going to select it here. If you opened a new window to do that, just click this little refresh. It'll grab the new ones that you've just added. Okay, network settings. So this is the network setup to reach the server. So we can use the default. We're going to create create a security group, but we're going to have to change this. Okay, we are going to have to change this, but we'll do that later. But we'll just let it create the default from anywhere. Most organizations should already have decent security groups set up, so you'd be selecting an existing one. If you're creating a new one for each one, then you're probably not doing it right. We're going to add, we'll do 20 gigs. I'm not quite sure exactly how much this is going to need, but I think 20 gigs will be more than sufficient. And I think that's all we need to change. So we're going to go ahead and launch this instance. Okay. So what this is doing is it's creating the server and it's starting to boot it up. So I'm going to click on this, this instance, so it'll come here, and it's going to give me the IP address. Now, this IP address right here is going to change whenever it stops for a long enough time and gets restarted. So that's something we Might try and change the video. That's the one part where I don't think is going to work, but it might because of the saying. So now that I have that, let me clear this. So the command is SSH. Now that's all you would need, ubuntu at, and this IP address, if you used your default key, but I didn't. So I need to come back here and I need to tell it the right key to use, the identity file, and it's in my home. This is navigating to it now. So this is going to be different depending on where you put it. And oh shoot, .ssh class underscore RSA. It depends on where you put it and what you named it. Okay, so once again, this is only needed if you're using a non-default. Now, a lot of people, when they do this, they get an error, whether it's private key permissions are too wide, then you have to do some changing on the private key, or permission denied, and then you have to troubleshoot those. And sometimes you've used the wrong key, and it's a pain to fix. So I'm not going to cover all of those here. You're going to have to do some Googling if that's where you're at. But by the way, it said, hey, this is new. Are you sure you want to trust it? Yeah, this is a new one we just created. Plus, the other thing is, once again, if this shuts down and restarts, if it's down for too long and then restarts, this IP address is going to change, and we're going to have to confirm this again. This step here is to try and help stop man-in-the-middle attacks. So it's a security feature of SSH. Okay, so before we even get started, we're going to look at some things. Actually, we're going to update some things. The first thing we're going to update is the server. So let's just update the server. And with Ubuntu, the command is sudo apt-get update. And then after that's done, we're going to do a sudo apt-get upgrade. So this is patching the system. This is something you should do regularly so that you don't let hackers in. And by the way, it says, do you want to continue? I'm going to say yes. So the command is different in the Red Hat Fedora line. It's yum or DNF, but sudo apt-get in Ubuntu. While this is going, I'm going to do a little bit of research with you. Okay, so we're going to let this run. We're going to jump to another window. By the way, notice how I'm jumping back and forth from windows. I am running Fedora on my system. You can see down here. So Linux is not scary. Command lines are not scary. They're just something new you need to learn. Okay, so Minecraft server. If we look here, it's Java. Okay, great. So one of the first things we're going to do is look at this wiki article from the tutorial. And I thought I already, yeah, no, not that one. You know, we might just click it again. Shoot, but I don't want to do it. So it is, oh, it is that one. Okay, so I'm going to hit the back arrow. I'm going to keep all these up so that we can reference them and go through them as needs be. But one of the things with the Linux instructions here, installing Java, it mentions for most distributions it's recommended to install JDK 16 for 1.17 plus or JDK 8 for 1.17. Okay, so we need at least open JDK 16. So I'm going to come back here. Oh, good, it's about ready. I'm just going to hit Tab and say OK. I usually like to restart things, but that's okay because we'll get there later. So I'm going to first type Java --version to see what I have, and if it looks, it's not there. So coming back to this page, it said we needed JDK 16. I'm going to install actually even higher. So JDK 18. Usually you can go up higher, but you can't go down lower. Headless is for servers. It just requires less overhead because it knows you're not going to be using the GUI. And yes to install. So we're installing Java. Great, so we're getting Java installed. And we need this again. So in here, so I can kind of click, but that won't work. So you hit the tab, and then you hit enter when you've selected it. Okay, so oh happy day. So we've got started. By the way, there is a decent article here from Fraser 26 if you wanted to install it as a different user other than Ubuntu. This person installs it as the Minecraft user. That would be wise if you're running a lot of different things. If you're on a system and you're doing something and you'll know what it is because of the user. Also, you don't have something that's supposed to run for something else running successfully because the user doesn't exist on this server if you accidentally make a mistake. So it's good to do that, but we're just going to leave it as Ubuntu. So when you find things on the internet, there's some things that are good, some things that are bad, and boy, this person's using Nano, so they just lost a lot of cred in my. No, Nano's fine. It's just really easy to use, and it's not as powerful. So it is what it is. I definitely use VI. So there's a bit of a holy war out there about which is the best editor. I'm in the VI camp. Okay, so let's see where our server's at. So it says the Java's installed. So we've installed Java. There's a server file we need to download. So let's look at that. Come back here to the very first link. And one of the problems with this is going to change. This URL is going to change each time. So I'm just copy this link address, and I'm going to come back here, and there's this great command. It's called wget to grab something from the internet. It's a Linux command, and I'm just pasting that URL. And so now if I do an ls-l, which is list the contents long, I can see there's the server jar. Happy day. So I've got it down. So I have the Java installed. I've downloaded the, I've updated the server. I've downloaded the jar file. So I could actually start to run it. Before I do, though, I definitely want to install a few other things. So, let's install sysstat first. So sysstat is required for you to use a command called sar. And sar lets us look at the performance of the system over time. It just takes, it pays attention to the system. It logs how it's doing so that if there is an issue or a slowdown, you can look at it. And so we just installed it, but then we do need to enable it. So I'm going to come down here and change this. This is VI. And I should have mentioned what I was doing, huh? So I'm going to save this and exit, but I'm going to get back in it. So sudo, by the way, is switch user and do. We've used that already. And then VI, this is an editor, and this is the file that we're editing, okay? J goes down, K goes up. So J, K, J, K. And then over is L, and the other way is H. And then I can actually come to the start of a word. I can do CW to change word, and now I'm in insert mode, and I just type. And then I hit escape to get back into command mode, and do control WQ. W writes, Q quits, and I hit enter, and I'll be out. Okay. So VI takes time to learn, but you can do things a lot faster. It's kind of like if you hired someone to do some framing and stuff, and they have a hammer, that's great, and they can do some things, and they have a handsaw. Yeah, they can do it. It's going to take a lot longer. If someone comes and they have nail guns and a table saw and a miter box saw, they have all these different tools like VI has. They can do it a lot faster, and even better in a lot of ways. So, they're just different tools. So, but VI is a little harder to use, just like it's harder to learn all these other tools. Okay. So let's see. One of the other things, looking back at this, that made me lose a little bit of you shouldn't switch user and become root often. The reason why is because if you make a mistake as root, it's very unforgiving. If you use sudo, you can become root to run a certain command, but just do your best to avoid staying in as root. Okay, so we've downloaded the server. We do need to set up a service for it. Okay, so this is where this is decent. So it has this stuff here, but we're running it not as the Minecraft user, so those have to change. And we only have 2 gigs of RAM, so this will need to change down to just 1 gig. I say that because the server has 2 gigs of RAM. Java almost usually doubles. Anything that you say to Java, my experience in the past has been it'll double it. So we need to VI this Minecraft server service. So this is where they say Nano. We're gonna VI it. Okay, and we're going to basically insert what they had and change it a little bit. I've already done that. So that's what mine looks like. I will try and put this and write and quit. I'm going to try and put all this down below. I know that YouTube does not like some of these special characters, so you might just have to pause the video and type it out or copy it from that web page and just change the few things. So again, the main things we changed is this home, user, group, and this section here. You should always keep these at this. Always, I shouldn't say that. I have had to change them in the past, but you usually keep these the same. And there, so save quit. Cannot open the file for writing. Oh, did I not sudo vi it? We're going to quit. So I only did vi. I didn't do sudo. This is a place where I can't edit files. So I'm just going to sudo, and bang bang says do the last command. So the 2 exclamations. So I'm just going to do that, and now I can insert, and let's grab this again, and paste, and now it should save and exit because I was root. Sweet. There are still times when even as root you won't be able to save things, and you have to. It's because there's something like you're missing a folder, so there's an error, or someone's actually made the file immutable, and you have to undo something before you can actually edit or remove the files and stuff. So there's things that you can do. Okay, so we have that. Now, if I look here in my directory, there's not much, but the moment I try and run this service, there's going to be some things appear. And the first time it's going to fail. In fact, let's not do it this way the first time. So let's more this file so we can see it, because there's a specific command in there that runs the server, and it's this right here. Okay, we're starting in home Ubuntu, so I'm in home Ubuntu. In fact, I can do print the working directory, and I can see home Ubuntu. So we're in home Ubuntu, we're as the user, we're as the group. So we could just copy this command and run it. Now I'm not gonna run it with the no GUI because I want the GUI. Okay, so I run it, and it's saying, "Oh man, you need to agree to the EULA." Okay, so now if I do an ls though, I can see there's more stuff here, and one of those is this EULA text file. So I'm going to VI the EULA text file, and I'm going to change this to true. Okay, so now I am going to start it in. No, I'm going to leave it here. Actually, before I do this, I'm going to exit. I want to get this command, and I'm going to be opening a new window. But let's log back in. I'm going to open a new window. Let me make it big for you, and log in a second time. And I'll show you why in a sec. Okay. So if we look at this, this is the command we're getting ready to run. We're going to run the server now. And the first time you run it, I would strongly suggest that you run it with the GUI or with the command. So you're going to stay in control of it. The reason why is because you need to see the user that logs in to get their UUID, the person who you want to make the moderator or operator of the world. By the way, it's preparing a world. So if we do ls, we now have a world folder. If you want to delete your world, just come in here and delete it. In fact, we're going to vi server properties. And there's some things you probably want to change here. So for example, there's the difficulty. You might want to change that to hard. There's the seed right there, level seed. This is where you can give it a unique number that will generate a specific world. So I'm trying to think. Oh, sometimes people change the max players, the view. There's like a so by the way, here's the server port. We're going to get there in a bit. View distance is something I know that some people have changed, and there's like another thing about how close. Anyway, so there's settings here, and there's a lot of them. So I will link to there is a server properties page that goes through each and every one of these. Okay, so I will link to that. So we have the Minecraft server, the thing we've been following. Here's the tutorial with JDK, updating Ubuntu, so we'll include this. Here's how to edit the op owner. So when you get the JSON, we'll show it at first, but you're going to miss it. And all you need is this part. Make sure you don't grab that comment unless you have multiple operators you're going to be putting in. Okay. But this right here is all. In fact, what I would do is I would just copy this and then put the UUID, quote, comma, and then enter. And so we'll probably fake this. And yeah, here's the level of what the ops can do. So yeah, I'll send you quite a few things. Oh, swappiness. I did want to see what the swappiness is set to. And then we'll link to journal control F. We'll follow things in case there's an issue. I don't think we'll get there. And that we don't need. Okay, so cool. Let's see where we're at. So this is preparing. It says it's done. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do a netstat-tnlp. And by the way, netstat's not found, so we do need to install it. Sudo, let's see, for netstat is, oh, it should say install net tools. Sudo app install net tools. So Ubuntu, I'm not used to this, it giving me the commands right there. I don't use Ubuntu that much. So enter. Okay, so that's installed. So now I can run my command, hit the up arrow. In fact, I'm going to run this with sudo. And it shows here that Java is this process ID and it's listening on this port. So I need that port. In fact, if I grep, which says look for this port, I'm just going to say in star in the files, you'll see that it's in the server property. It's the server port, the query port. So we need that. So let's come back here to our Amazon. This is the server under security. There's this security group. This is like a firewall. So I'm going to click on this. And once I click on the firewall, there's the rules, and I'm allowing SSH. That's what I'm using right now. But I need to edit the inbound rules, and I need to add a custom TCP. And the port right here is that port I just copied. Okay, making sure it's fine, and I'm going to allow it from anywhere. IPv4. Save rules. And I'm just going to make sure that shows up down there. Oh, inbound rules. Did I change the... I don't want to do that. I think I changed the SSH rule. That would be bad. Add rule. SSH. Save rules. Okay. And from anywhere. Okay. So, I don't know. That may have kicked me off. Will it? Let's see. Yeah, it did. So because I removed SSH from the great. Okay, there's nothing like creating a video without causing a problem. So what I did is I just killed my windows when I removed that SSH and saved it. So I need to open up a command prompt again because those were kind of dead. It would take a while. Make this big. That's good enough. Set-ovi. So I like to do this so I can search back for my SSH. And there's Ubuntu. I think that was the right IP address. Let me make sure because I worked on a different one earlier. EC2. So I want to make sure I'm not doing it on a different server I just helped someone with. Instant state and 161. Yep, so this is the right one. Okay. 161. Okay. So I'm logged back in. A system restart is required, but so we did the netstat. We added the port, so I think we're good to restart. So I'm going to. Oh, did we enable the service? So we created. No, did we create the service? Shoot, so that's more. Yeah, we created this service, but I don't think we enabled it. On top of that, because I exited out without stopping it nicely, I think I'm going to have to clean something up. So I'm going to paste. So this is what I'm doing is as root, switch user and do system control. By the way, I could do a different user. It's just by default it does root. System control enable minecraft-server-service. So this is the server service that we made. This says do it at startup. So hit enter. I'm going to do sudo system control, and we're going to see if we can stop minecraft-server-service. See if it'll let us stop it. And then if we do a netstat, let's do sudo netstat-tnlp and java.con. Let's just see if it'll start. So up sudo system control. Oh, it may have stopped actually when my console disappeared. So start Minecraft service, and let's see if Java's there. And it's not, and it's probably because there's a world lock. So if I see this world, by the way, if I do a ps dash, so process, I'm looking at the processes and looking at, yeah, grep Java. Oh, so it thinks it's trying to run. Sudo netstat-tn t-tnlp. Oh, so it did start eventually. Okay, cool. Sweet. Let's go ahead and reboot. Oh, we were going to show the ops file. Okay, so ls, if we look here, here's ops.json. So if I vi ops.json, it knows, so vi is great, Vim, it's vi improved actually. Insert, enter. Oh, wait, backspace. Yeah, enter. I'm going to come here to the end and hit enter. So it knows that I want to indent. So what I would do here is, and this is where I'm going to come back to how to set it. No, this one. And I'm going to just copy sections of this. In fact, I'll copy the whole thing, but not that last comma, because I'm only going to set up for one. So if I do this, yeah, I don't like doing it that way. I'm going to do it one line at a time. So I hit that and go there. I'm going to come back and I'm going to grab this UUID. In fact, I'm going to grab this whole line. So I'd have to change UUID goes here. That would be the UUID of the person that logs in. If you start up your server in GUI mode, you stay there, and when someone logs in, it shows their UUID on your screen, that like I'm looking at right here. So, and their name, it shows both. So hit the name and then enter, and the last one is the level. Okay, level 4 is like the most powerful opt that you can be. So, at least from my understanding, I'm not a Minecraft. I don't play Minecraft. So, okay, so I'm going to save and quit. Now, once again, you need to change this to be the UUID that you'd see when they log into your server, and this to be their name. And then this sets them at the right level. Notice we don't have a comma on this one. Okay, we don't have a comma on the last one. The reason why is because this is a field separator. So this is the first field, comma. This is the second field, comma. This is the third field, but there's no fourth field, so I don't put a comma. That's also why I don't put a comma after this, because there's only one of them. Now, if I put a second one, I would need to put a comma right after that. Okay, so I'm going to save and quit. And then I would reboot. In fact, I am going to reboot. Sudo reboot, because I do want to make sure that that Java starts automatically. Granted, my ops incorrect, but it won't know that. So it's going to take a minute or two to restart. So I'm going to go ahead and try now. And you can see it says connection refused. It's not ready yet. So just wait a couple seconds, try again. And restarting doesn't change the IP. It's if it stops and is down for long enough and starts back up, then the IP changes. So let's do sudo netstat -tnlp, and let's just pipe grep java. That way it'll only show us that one line, and it's already there. Sweet, happy day. So we rebooted it and it restarted. So now someone could connect to it and we'd be good to go. Now let's go into a few more things that you might want to do that I'm not going to show in this video. So you're going to want to back up your world file if you care about it. So there's just everything in this world is the stuff that changes, and you might want to back up some of the work you did on the server properties and the ops JSON, things that you changed. Everything else, not a big deal. This server.jar is something you had to pull down manually. So anytime a new version of Java comes out, you have to bring down the new server.jar. Okay, and that could change some of the settings in the other files. Usually not. But you need the new server.jar. On top of that, so we talked about backup and enabled SAR for monitoring. I wonder if we have anything yet. SAR-A. No, SAR. So, yeah, data collecting is not happening yet. That's okay. Now, let's show you how you would tie a specific IP to it. Okay, so right now this is going to change its IP if we stop it. By the way, that's coming up here, instance state, stop instance. It completely destroys the system if you terminate. Reboot keeps the IP, okay? But if you stop it, then you have to start it. Well, if we don't want to worry about that, there's this thing called elastic IPs. So we can come here, and elastic IPs are free to use, but you have to pay for them if you're not using them. So I'm going to allocate an elastic IP, and this is why I don't know if it'll let me, but I think it will, because I think I've used it before, and it is. So once we have this, then we can actions. Oh, I should first come over here. I don't want to be connected; it'll disconnect me again. So exit. So what I do here, I select actions, associate the elastic IP address, and then we say it's an instance, and we can choose our instance right here. It's running, and associate. And so now this IP address is going to stay the same even when I stop it, but when I stop it, I have to pay for this when I'm not using it. Okay, so this should be the new IP. So I'm going to grab this, but before I go to it, I'm just going to show you if I hit the up arrow and try and log into its old IP, not going to work. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control C. If I hit the up arrow and I delete this and I put this new IP, it's going to complain because it's going to say, hey, I've seen this server before, but it was a different IP address. Are you sure we want to connect? Yes. And we're connected. So, awesome. What we did today, we installed a Minecraft server. We set up an operator. We showed the different configuration files. We opened up the firewall for it. Anyone in the world this. Now, because I created this in my lab, the moment I stop my lab, it shuts down. I don't want to have to pay for this when my lab's shut down. So I'm going to disassociate this IP address. And I'm going to release the Elastic IP address so I don't have to pay for it. But now you know how to create a Minecraft Java server in Amazon Web Services. I hope that's something that you'll enjoy. I hope that if you need help doing this, find an up-and-coming person who's interested in computers and have them help you through this. People need to learn, and that would be great. One last thing, creating an Amazon Web Services account. You do need to secure it. Hackers love to get this because they love to spend your money to do stuff that they would like to do, like hack people or mine Bitcoin. So make sure you set up multi-factored authentication and know that people might call you on the phone trying to fake to take over your if they find out about it. So just be careful out there. There's a lot of hackers, and they are pretty smart at what they do. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this and enjoy your Minecrafting.